Alright, fuck you. Give me a bottle of booze. Here's my dollar. Suck my dick. Alright, everybody, it's time for a Patron request from Royce Bunn. He requested Street Trash from 1987, and this is a movie about a bunch of homeless people, and there's a local liquor store that gets this new shipment of alcohol called Viper, I think. And when you drink it, the side effect is immediate, just explosions or melting. People inflate and explode, and some of them just melt, and they melt not into regular puddles of red blood. In other movies you would see that. In this one, no, they bleed purple, some of them bleed green, blue, you name it. It's just random just random people getting melted into colorful piles of ooziness, and it's just bizarre shit. This movie is very bizarre, and normally this is the kind of movie I would like, but for some reason I didn't really care for it. I mean, it's silly, yes, but there's just not enough of it for me. I found this movie to be actually kind of boring throughout a lot of it, because, you know, it sounds entertaining. If you haven't seen the movie, what I'm saying sounds like it's a lot of fun, but there's actually not a whole lot of melting. I think like 3 people melt in this movie, and one of them explodes, but there's like so much time in between all of that. They mainly save it for the end, but I wasn't digging it. So yeah, that would be one of my negatives for this movie, is that I didn't like it because I thought it was kind of boring. I didn't like any of the characters, and there's too many. There's way too many characters in this movie. I thought this was going to be a creature feature for some reason going into it. I went in blind. This was my first watch, and I thought that there was going to be some monster involved because of the poster, but to my surprise, it's a melting movie. But there's just too many characters. There's no focus on like just a couple, and you know, a real story going on where they like find out that there's, you know, this evil alcohol, and they're going to investigate it and find out what's going on. And it's just like, no, it's just random alcohols melting people, no explanation given, and there's just like 30 characters, and none of them are developed, and I don't really care about any of them. Some of the dialogue is funny. You know, I quoted a line in the beginning of this, but there's just not enough of it. There's a couple of funny moments of dialogue in the movie, but like I said, throughout most of it, I was just kind of bored. And I didn't like spending 90 minutes in a junkyard, so this movie is very just dirty and gritty, and just doesn't look good. It's just all in the junkyard. But yeah, and then like there's characters who should have died that don't die. Like you got that fat mayor from The Toxic Avenger. He's in here, and he full-on rapes a dead body and doesn't get killed. And it's just like, there's all these different characters. I just wish they would have narrowed it down, focused more on just a couple of characters, you know, have a bunch of other cannon fodder get killed left and right. There should have been more carnage, more melting in the movie, you know, sprinkled evenly throughout, because there's a huge gap I felt between the first incident and the second one. It was just this long moment of just nothing. I was bored. They even like waste over 5 minutes for this joke that wasn't funny, and it's just this guy stuffing his pants at a grocery store, and it's pointless. The whole scene could be taken out and wouldn't do anything. It doesn't explain anything. Like, it would have made sense if he stole some of the alcohol and then took that back with him and then started sharing it with his friends, and you know that, and they all started melting. Then it would be like, oh, okay, so this scene makes sense. But instead, it's like a 5-minute joke that doesn't work. He's just stuffing his pants, and he's calling the old white lady a cracker, like, oh, you're racist, you know, because picking on me because I'm black and I'm not stealing anything. Like, your racist eyes are lying to you. Like, it's not a funny scene to me. It just went on way too long, and then there's like this weird love relationship between this Asian lady and a hobo, and he just looks disgusting and looks like he smells and hasn't bathed in like over a week, and still she's like into him, and over a month really. Like, she's like about to blow him at one point. It's like, really? Yeah, there just should have been more focus on just a couple of characters, more going on, and just a character for me to latch onto and give a shit about. I didn't like the characters. There's like fight choreography in the movie that was pretty laughable. That wasn't really done good, and there's like this whole police investigation that doesn't even need to be there, because by the end it goes absolutely nowhere. Like, this cop character, like, just, you can cut that whole subplot right out of the movie. And so, but the positives for this movie, overall, it's just the melting stuff. Like, I could just watch all the melting scenes and that's good. Like, that's all I need from this movie. It's just watch all the practical effects. You know, it's very low budget, but it looks good. And there's even one death that's not melting, and it involves like this oxygen tank, something straight out of, like, Final Destination 4. That was amazing. It made me laugh out loud. That was hilarious. I was not expecting that. So that was like a good moment there. So I like that. But yeah, that's really it. That's all I cared about, was just how bizarre the concept was. And but I didn't really like the execution of it though. But I like the concept, and I like all the melting scenes. So just give me a YouTube video of all that stuff, and I'm good. Everything else I could do without. So yeah. But this is really loved, so I'm in the minority here. I know there's a lot of people out there that love this movie. When people bring it up, they're like, "Oh, I love straight trash. It's so funny and bizarre." And it's like, it's bizarre, but it's not that funny to me. But yeah, I mean, there's like a severed penis scene, and that's kind of funny. But in the end, I was a bit disappointed. I didn't really care for it all that much, but I still can recommend it to people who are a fan of low budget, just, you know, practical effects and weird concepts like this. And, you know, if it sounds appealing, then check it out. It's on Amazon Prime, I think. It's not free. I think you have to rent it, but it's on there. So final thoughts. I wasn't crazy about it, but I think there's definitely a fan base out there. This movie has over like 6 on IMDb, so that's pretty good for a low budget horror movie. So, but yeah, the saving grace here is the practical effects, the melting scenes. They're pretty good. So when it comes to straight trash, I recommend that you stream it, borrow it from a friend, or rent it at Redbox. Alright, time for a spoiler discussion. I don't have a whole lot of notes because I was told to review this movie like 3 days after I watched it, so I didn't take any notes while watching it. So I'm like working off of memory here. So yeah, let's get into it. Bryan Singer was a grip on this movie. Thought that was interesting, and the director of this movie went on to be a Steadicam operator for multiple James Cameron films. There was one line in this movie that made me laugh where the cop shows up and this woman's like, you know, save this guy. Why won't you do anything? And then it's, at some point, for some reason, his response to her is like, you know, baby, I'm not even sure if you ain't got no cock or something like that. He's accusing her of having a dick. It's just a random weird line. So this guy rolls up on this mean-looking bum who doesn't look like a friendly fellow, and he just rolls down his window. He's trying to have like a casual conversation with him. When idiots, he gets pulled right out of his car, swung around into his own windshield, and the wife, is just standing there screaming. That scene was pretty silly. And then we get the 5 minutes of this guy shoplifting. And what was hilarious, though, was at the end of it, instead of just like walking out the front door that automatically opens, he walks straight out the plate glass window like he's fucking Michael Myers at the end of Halloween 2. Just boom, just doesn't have a running head start. He doesn't weaken it first, but, you know, break it with something. Like, it doesn't have a crack or anything. He just walks right through it. He's like a fucking bulldozer. And then there's this one scene where there's a drunk girl who thinks that this homeless guy is her boyfriend Ricky, so she goes back to his place, doesn't realize that it's a junkyard, because I doubt Ricky lives in the junkyard. And then she gets gang raped and killed off camera. It's not, you know, I spit on your grave or anything. It doesn't go that crazy. But the fatso who owns this fucking junkyard, who the whole movie is sexually harassing this woman who works for him, and she just won't quit. She won't go to HR if there is one. He finds the dead body of this girl who was gang raped and killed, and starts to fuck her on the beach. She's like washed up somewhere. And while he's doing that, meanwhile, there's a game of like monkey in the middle, except it's a severed penis. This guy gets his dick chopped off and then starts running around like he's not in pain. It's like, if your dick was chopped off, you wouldn't be able to just keep running around trying to get your penis back from your friends. You would be in agony on the ground. But whatever, I'll look past it. But they're throwing his dick to each other, you know, like, oh, catch the dick, don't let him have it. It's like, no. Have some sympathy for this guy. As a man, you should feel bad for him, give him his penis back, put it on some ice, let's see if we can get that thing back on. And I must say, that's a pretty big, flaccid penis. I mean, Jesus Christ, he was just taking a piss, and when it gets chopped off and you see it flying through the air, that thing looked like it was fucking that long. Like, this guy is packing. He is not a grower, he's a shower. And so then, like, the girl catches it, and she's like about to like stuff it down her bra, like, oh, I'll keep this for later. The Asian girl is really about to like have sex with this kid. Really? Like, how old is he? And why does every guy in this movie sound like a kid going through puberty? A lot of the guys in this movie have like high voices, but yeah, he looks smelly and disgusting, and she's like about to blow him, but then gets interrupted. It's like, really? Come on. Am I supposed to believe that this chick's really into him? So then after this like long, chase around the junkyard, this guy, gets the oxygen tank and, man the torpedoes. Freddy versus Jason, anybody? Hits the thing, sends it flying to the guy, and I'm thinking as this is happening, like, oh, it's probably just gonna like knock him on his ass, maybe carry him a few feet, maybe break his neck, I don't know. Nope, none of the above. It takes not only his head off, and when we see his head on the ground, it doesn't even look damaged. It just looks like a normal face, like at least put some bruises on that face, some blood, but it's not only is his face and whole head taken off, but it looked like part of his chest was taken off too. Like, it took a whole part of his chest with it. And it was just a bloody-ass mess. Blood just shooting out of the empty chest. It was so gory. And then there's that one scene earlier where the guy's just getting bigger and bigger, and then it explodes. That looked pretty cool. He uses reverse psychology to get this one asshole to drink the liquor. He's like, no, please don't drink it. Wink, wink. And then he drinks it. Like, I'll do it anyway. Fuck you. And then he starts melting, like, just purple and blue shit, and turns into, like, a skeleton. That looked pretty good. The store owner starts, like, melting orange, but we don't really get to see much of him melting. Like, we see the beginning of it, but then we don't really get to see him, like, fully melt. And then the waiter dude and his boss, like, that's, like, the end credits of the movie. That whole storyline being wrapped up there. Like, he gets his boss to drink the liquor, and he dies off camera. I wish they would have shown that one, but for some reason they didn't. And that's the end of the movie, really. That's all I have written down. So, yeah. It's a silly movie, yes, but I just wasn't crazy about it. But what are your thoughts on it? Do you disagree with me? Do you think it's just hilarious and quickly paced? I thought it was just kind of slow for me, but let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, don't drink Viper.